Every year when we put the clocks back by an hour, we plunge the evening commute into darkness. So that's terrible in terms of making our roads much more dangerous for vulnerable road users. So both as a motorist but also as a cyclist, I'm acutely aware of just how much more vulnerable I am to tired motorists. And the RSC Foundation's established that in the fortnight after we put the clocks back, we see a 19% increase in road traffic collisions and a corresponding increase in pedestrian injuries. So that is unacceptable, and frankly it's hard to see why we change from British summertime back to GMT. If we stayed with British summertime, we'd be avoiding all those casualties and all those road traffic collisions. COVID has been quite a shock to the world economy, and within the UK the retail sector and the hospitality sector have really suffered because we've not been able to go out and spend money in the shops and in pubs and restaurants. So what we're advocating is that if we stay with British summertime all year long, we'll have an extra hour of daylight in the evenings, so that after work, after school, so that we can actually spend time in the shops if we want to go and buy something from the shops, or with friends and family in restaurants, actually enjoying time together. But from the economic point of view, actually spending money in those really hard-pressed parts of the economy. So in effect, we'll be building on the Chancellor's excellent Eat Out to Help Out programme by staying out to help out. When we put the clocks back from British summertime to GMT, it acts like a curfew. So many of us feel as though basically there's no option but to curl up on the sofa because it's dark outside. And that's particularly the case with older people. So older people who might have been out and about, enjoying, going shopping, seeing friends and family, will actually end up sort of confined to their homes. But those of us who enjoy active travel, so walking, cycling, running, also feel quite a curfew. So it's quite a shock from one day to the next, from cycling or running in daylight to suddenly being confronted with darkness. So it's quite a disincentive to actually try to keep active. And yet with COVID-19, one of the lessons we've learned is that it's really important to stay as fit as possible and to fight the battle of the bulge by keeping physically active for as long as possible. And if we stick to BST, we can actually be active for much longer, way into the autumn, and then as soon as spring comes, we can actually start taking up our activities again in daylight, as opposed to having to rely on artificial lighting or torches, head torches and so on. So I think staying to BST is really good for society in terms of helping us keep engaged and keep active. The further north you go, the more dramatic the changes are as the seasons change. So there's no question that Scotland has much less daylight than, let's say, the south of England. The question for me is how we make use of the daylight that's available. So we can't do anything about the UK's geography, but we certainly can make a big difference in terms of how we use the available daylight. And personally, I think it's crazy for us to not make use of morning daylight and still be in bed, waking up, but then having an evening commute in pitch darkness. So by going for BST all year long, what it should mean is that yes, the mornings will be darker, especially the further north you go, but the evenings will be much lighter. And it's the evenings where people suffer road traffic accidents because they're tired. So although we'll have the disbenefit of darker mornings, we'll have the huge benefit, which is much bigger than the disbenefit, of having daylight for the evening return to home, or to do other things, to meet up with friends and family, for example. There's the amusing benefit of not having to mess around with adjusting our clocks and watches. But actually there are a number of serious benefits. So the first one is actually avoiding this curfew that we see every autumn, where people feel quite oppressed by the sudden onset of darker evenings, and they feel constrained, so they're unwilling to actually go out, visit the shops, and go out and socialise, meet friends and family, visit pubs and restaurants. And that has a really negative effect on the economy. So we feel strongly that BSD all year round would actually help people enjoy their evenings for longer into the autumn. But there's also the road safety angle, where year after year we see this spike in pedestrian casualties. And in fact, the RSC Foundation has proven that in the fortnight after we've put our clocks back, we see a 19% increase in road traffic collisions. And those are completely preventable and avoidable if we stay with British Summertime all year round.